What's going on, boys? Today we are talking a bit about all 16 types, specifically the ways I like each type operating in my life. We'll go in 16p order, starting with INTJs. Now, the INTJs I've most enjoyed interacting with have not served material purposes. Actually, maybe they have just a little bit, but we'll get to that. Typically, when an INTJ is in my life, I am using them for vibing. The INTJs I tend to get along with often feel overwhelmed by life, and they aren't trying to sovereign citizen logic their way into thinking everything is supposed to be dandy. So when I'm speaking with them, I feel I can relate with them regarding circumstances. But the ways those circumstances affect them and the ways they deal with them are completely different. And I'm normally not big on letter dichotomies because they can trick you into thinking things that are not the case. But in this instance, they're useful for understanding you're interacting with another introverted, intuitive thinker whose function stack is completely different from yours. Meaning, in my eyes, you look like me, you talk like me, you vibe like me, but you are not me. It's like getting trapped in the same cell for the same crime with someone from a completely different planet. I get to be stressed, sad, and analytical with someone whose unhappiness is almost identical, yet their thoughts on why we're unhappy and what they're going to do about it are different and often in a productive way. If I'm not mistaken, Nietzsche was the one who said something about, why do I need the key to my cage? We could have keys to each other's cages, but not to our own. INTJ nailed what purpose INTJs I like serve in my life. Their other useful purpose, which I want to talk more about in a different video, is INTJs are like INFJs for FI types. Meaning INTJs are good at getting a sense of what an FI type might be feeling and why. Better than any other FI type in my experience. INTPs. I am picky about the INTPs I interact with these days. In times past, I used to seek out INTPs specifically to speak with because when I first got into typology, I thought INTPs were the only people who would ever be able to understand me or I could ever understand. That is not the case, and most INTPs these days really get under my skin. Not because there's necessarily anything wrong with them, but more because when I look at them, I see bad parts of myself, and that's irritating. Either because I've already fixed that thing, and why are you burdening people with this thing I'm so smart I fixed, why can't you fix it? Or, holy shit, is that really what I look like? Do I really act like that? Oh no. Now, in recent years, INTPs I like have come to serve a different purpose. One of the great things about typology is you really can find people who are almost identical to you, eerily identical to you. Meaning, once I've identified an INTP, I am confident enough, thinks the way I do, I'll use them for shortcuts. If there is a complicated subject I know nothing about, I'll use their thoughts or conclusions as tentative but almost 100% stand-ins until I can get my own head around things. If precedent shows they would make decisions almost identical to decisions I have made or would make in these circumstances, I don't feel uncomfortable using their knowledge as a schema until I can flesh out my own. Then generally, I tend not to hang out with INTPs because as our conversations progress, even though it feels refreshing hearing someone's points and understanding how they came to those conclusions, it always feels like we are slowly pulling knives out of our pockets the further in we go. Because the moment we disagree on something, it will be on a fundamental level, and you can't work through or fix that shit. You either agree to disagree or you stab each other. For example, this one INTP dude I went to university with and I got into a conversation about government. And we got comfortable and talked for a long time. But although we agreed to disagree on some things, but they were small things, I can see why you would think that. Oh, I see why you would think that. That's really cool that we can mutually see why each other would think that. That's so cool. We finally got down to a fundamental disagreement. He trusted authorities, I didn't. Don't. If you try to argue past one of these fundamental things, you are arguing feelings and instincts, not facts. Even if you can back up your feelings and instincts with facts, it doesn't change the fact your opinion, your feeling on something came first. You're using facts to back it up, not developing your stance from the facts. That's one of the reasons I tend not to argue with people, and especially not INTPs. INTPs generally are too proud to admit a thought they hold strongly comes from a place outside logic. And they are sharp enough to hide that well. Maybe not even realize that's what they're doing. All humans are like that, but INTPs are particularly frustrating about it. Hence why I tend not to keep any INTPs around me. ENTJs. ENTJs are like drugs. Once we connect on that personal level, there is no mild, standard, measured anything. There's not even a formal baseline for me to return to. Ingesting ENTJ is fun, enlightening, life-changing, and dangerous. Terribly dangerous. As in, once you two's synapses have connected, you're either going somewhere beautiful or you're going straight into a wall at 120 miles per hour. These days, in my life, with ENTJs, I keep things 100% formal, even if I am certain that human element is there, that connection could exist, or if I think we're going to connect or should connect, I ensure there are escape routes everywhere. Literally, physically, and mentally. When I connect with an ENTJ, really connect, I cannot stop thinking about them. And I suspect that goes both ways, because once we've connected, ENTJs do really stupid shit around me. So really, I don't keep ENTJs in my life these days. Not on a personal level. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't know how to develop safeties for once things are in motion. I can prepare all kinds of safeties beforehand, but once the train is moving, neither of us seem to have any ability to control what's going to happen, for better or for worse. Short of ejecting 110% very early, but that in and of itself is just a less explosive way of ending the connection, not keeping it going. I have every single thought and feeling a person can have about ENTJs, but for right now, the one that wins out is proceed with caution. ENTPs. They're similar to INTPs in the sense the more of them I interact with, the more they annoy me. But I like them as jammers. They're like radar jammers. I am good and getting better at using FE one on one. It almost comes naturally. Unfortunately, in most of life, you will not be one on one with a person you are not close with, and you will never be 100% one on one in the social sphere. So, when I'm trying to perform subtle FE activities, including information gathering or winning specific friends and influencing specific people, ENTPs are good at making FE waves big enough most people will be paying attention to or reacting to them. And that doesn't mean ENTPs are being loud or boisterous or controversial. It means they are socializing in a way that draws attention. You can be nice and draw attention in an ENTP-ish manner. Now, I have had a number of ENTP mentors, and most of my heroes are ENTPs. But those aren't the sorts of people you seek out to serve a purpose. They more just happen. INFJs. I used to like them as confidants, but I'm finding FI confidants feel more rewarding. In the self sphere, anyway. If I were to use an INFJ in a similar position now, they would be more an FE strategist. As I said with INTPs previously, the way I sometimes use other INTPs' knowledge as schemas, I would use an INFJ's FE strategies, thoughts, knowledge as a schema toward FE ends. However, I prefer doing that kind of work manually myself now so I can learn it. Nowadays, what I use INFJs for primarily is another set of hands in my corner. Once an INFJ and I pass each other's "we're cool" checks, even when we don't become close personal friends, it seems like the moment my gut tells me a bad social situation is about to pop up, I can look over and the INFJ I have made cool with is already looking at me, and now we are getting ready without saying anything to do something about what's about to happen. Most FE types you're synced up with will be kinda like that, but INFJs are very quick about it. And they're some of the few people I can communicate with without speaking. That is very hard for me. INFPs. Two purposes. The first one more reptilian. INFPs always seem to be part of something. They seem drawn to communities despite introversion, FI dominance. I think it has something to do with Nemesis FE. If you want to join a community, or in a business sense, maybe an exclusive field reliant on contacts, an INFP can make that happen. Now, whether an INFP gets you into a creepy high society party or a creepy Discord server will depend on the INFP, but each one always seems to be connected to a group of people. People with specific interests, I mean. Second purpose, less reptilian. Physical touch is in my top two love languages, and I never ever act on it. As in, I know I'm going to die wishing my family and I hugged each other more, but it just doesn't happen. Now, again, how or why this came about, I have no idea, but all the INFPs I have been close with have hugged me often. Now, typically, I hate when people touch me, much less hug me. Partially because don't touch me, and partially because I don't want to touch or hug or be physically close with people I don't trust. And I don't really trust anybody. But after a point, the INFPs I've been close with have hugged me. And while I'm still not 100% comfortable with it, it's like laying the groundwork for trust that could be there. And that's appreciated. And again, this does not happen with other types for some reason. ENFJs. I don't keep ENFJs in my life. I haven't studied them at length, even though I've tried on and off here and there. Most ENFJs I end up interacting with bug me. I don't hate them, but from what I've seen, I don't go out of my way to find them. ENFPs. They serve a similar purpose to INTJs, but less from the, or not at all, from the introverted, intuitive thinker side, and more from the pure perceiver side. When I meet relatable ENFPs, they are very relatable. In the sense, or to the degree, they are some of the only people I feel like I can be just normal ass friends with. Now, again, finding ENFPs on the same wavelength can be a challenge, but it can be worth the effort because it sometimes feels nice to feel human. And for me, ENFPs differ from INFPs in this department in that INFPs, even ones I like and feel close with, have that degree of spikiness, that rigidity. I feel on edge even if I don't want to. ENFPs I'm close with do not give me that vibe. ENFPs are undoubtedly spiky, or can be, and I don't know why, but I don't feel that degree of spikiness around them. I don't feel like I'm walking on eggshells around them. Even if with the INFP I shouldn't need to. ISTJs. It might sound stereotypical, but if you have SI and no ISTJs, good SI is hard to come by, and I like using them as living reference books. This role differs from INTP's role in the sense ISTJ's role is more textured, meaning I'll use an INTP's knowledge if I need to make a quick decision, results oriented. I'll use an ISTJ's information for what the experience might be like, how it might feel, how they felt about it. For instance, I want to learn to code. I go to an INTP if I need recommendations for courses or materials or companies, whatever. I go to an ISTJ for what does it feel like to be a professional coder? How do you feel about where your profession might be in the next 10 years? What are some of your favorite or least favorite moments regarding coding? And an ISTJ will give you detailed information about whatever sort of life experience you're interested in. You can't walk a mile in a person's shoes, but an ISTJ can break down what it feels like to walk a mile in those shoes pretty well. ISFJs. I don't have any ISFJs in my life anymore, and I don't feel compelled to seek them out. If I had to, they would serve the same purpose as INFJs do, but with a slight delay. And the reason I don't seek out ISFJs too much anymore, because the ones I liked were good mostly for keeping me updated on people and helping me learn FE stuff, and the ones I didn't like were everything I dislike about INTPs amplified by 100. Currently, they don't serve a purpose in my life, and they probably won't anytime soon. Probably. ESTJs. I like them as measuring sticks. Generally speaking, an ESTJ is going to do what society expects of them. And while they'll probably be pretty good at it, there is a huge range of money within what society expects of a person. This is a little hard to explain, but if you are following an atypical life path, ESTJs are good for measuring how you're doing. And if you're friends with them, that can become a mutually supportive process too. You can get typical help and you can provide atypical help. ESFJs. Similar to the other FJs, except I like keeping in contact with certain ESFJs just for information gathering, or just receiving gossip, however you want to put it. ISTPs. I like them as soundboards. If I'm having trouble with a problem, I can't figure it out, and I don't think I'll be able to figure it out, I like troubleshooting what's wrong with ISTPs. Almost always, 30 seconds into the conversation, they'll hit me with a, "Have you tried this?" And it'll be something I haven't tried that was directly in front of my face, but I never would have thought of. And that solution usually fixes it. And then, when I need to make a big decision, I like asking ISTPs not what I should do, but what they think about it. What they think about the situation. Any vibes they're getting off it. ISTP vibes are powerful. And while you shouldn't ask an ISTP for an answer, asking for their thoughts can help you avoid pitfalls and make better decisions. ISFPs. I tend not to keep them around. The cool ones are cool, the definition of chill, but not enlightening. At least not for me, not yet. I have a feeling there is a lot I can learn from ISFPs, but I don't even have the framework to try to figure out what that might be yet. And then the uncool ISFPs are extremely uncool. They're like bad INTJs on steroids. The role ISFPs tend to play in my life is person who is down to do something. Now, I don't seek people like that out these days because I don't do shit, or the shit I do alone. But every ISFP I've known always invites me to do minor menial stuff or is down to do minor menial stuff. It's kind of heartwarming, but it's not something I seek out. ESTPs. I haven't studied ESTPs anywhere near as much as I'd like to. I can't say anything about them in general right now, but the few ESTPs I have regularly interacted with, I've used like ISTPs on steroids. I'm gonna say that again. An amped up version of ISTPs. I'm looking forward to studying them more because I like ESTPs in general, but I haven't had the hands on time with them I've had with other types. ESFPs. Money managers. I haven't hard studied it, but I've noticed a pattern. ESFPs seem to get pretty good with money in their late 20s. Enough so I've seen ESFPs, not always, but enough to mention, outcompete TJs in business finance. They make great entrepreneurs. So, while I have no ESFPs in my life right now, there were a number of ESFPs in my vicinity I would communicate with and watch with interest. And based on other ESFPs, I think that type hits some kind of spike in their late 20s, early 30s, at which point, if they haven't already taken off, they develop the capacity to take off more than other types. Not doing a summary this time, my voice is giving out and I'm exhausted. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Tired. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What purposes do different types serve in your life? Thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can fluff it up and then lie your head down on it and pass out, because sleeping is very, very fun. That's so much fun we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.